I'm Kelly Vaughn, and this is Inside Indy. When we think of special needs kids, we have some very special ways to treat them here on this edition of Inside Indy. And joining us are Jenna Todd, and she is a member of the Children's Theraplay Foundation. You are on the board of directors?
Correct.
All right, very good. And then we have Becca Wickman. All right, Becca, and she has a son. Her son is here actually in the studio with us today, and he receives physical and occupational therapies at the Children's Theraplay Foundation.
That's correct.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I had never heard of Children's Theraplay. So perhaps, Jenna, would you want to explain to us what it is and how it works for children with special needs?
So Children's Theraplay uses horses as part of the children's treatment sessions. Half of their treatment is in the clinic and half of it is on the horse. And the therapist use different movements of the horse to help elicit different functions. They can sit on the horse, they can stand, they can be on their hands and knees, ride backwards, and all that can help work on strengthening, balance, and coordination. It can also help improve coordination for the children, which carries over to improving posture and mobility, which functionally for those kids can work on walking, walking up and down
stairs. He wants to be a part of the show, I think.
Honey.
Oh, I love it. This is real TV. This is how it really works. So
Hey, buddy.
we're going to join you in a little bit, honey, okay?
I just need you to wait for mommy, okay?
Okay,
thank you.
he has
Okay, no more
agreed.
talking. 5 more minutes. Okay. Then I'll help you. Okay.
So it can also help with those functional tasks, like I was saying, like going up and down steps, walking on uneven surfaces, for the children to help, for their self-care skills, getting dressed and undressed, using utensils to feed themselves, and even being able to sit and attend in a classroom.
Okay. Let's talk about the different challenges that the children have, and then how the and I call it, I say horse therapy, how it helps them, because I think we need to understand what that child might be going through. So Becca, you want to explain perhaps some of the different challenges?
Sure. Well, I can speak to my own experience there with my son. So he was born with spina bifida, which is a neurological disorder in which his nerve function from, in his case, about the knees down, isn't present. And so feeling and muscle is lost at those spots. And so that creates problems with him learning to walk and overall gross and fine motor function as well. So the horse therapy, which we call it the same thing, often can imitate a normal human gait. It can give a lot of core work to a child that really needs to build muscles in that way. In which, when you're at home, it's not always easy to get your child to work on their abs and lower back muscles. I don't want to do a crunch very often. It's hard to get my child to do that as well. So the horse therapy provides an opportunity for him to work these muscle groups in order to be strong when he's standing and be able to sit tall to perform tasks like riding and dressing. So there's a lot of things that the horse can provide that are pretty unique.
Okay. Wow. And I would never think it would do that. So how did we figure this out? How was this discovered? Any idea when it began, this type of therapy?
I believe that it became accredited in 1997.
Really? Okay. And somebody figured out that this was having an impact on children. And some of the other challenges, if you could go over, Jenna, that children face, that this would help.
Yeah, well, so like Becca, I can speak for my child, Maxwell. He is 5 now, and he began at Children's Theraplay when he was 18 months old. And at that time, he was only able to roll, to be able to get around from place to place and come up and sit for a little while because he would fatigue so easily, and he had very low muscle tone. So I even tell people to push him in a stroller was hard because he was always falling over to one side. So we always had to have bolsters and stuff around him. around him to help support his trunk. But Maxwell just has a few different genetic disorders. But since starting at Children's Theraplay, he was able to stand independently. He can go up and down steps now. He's working on his dressing and feeding himself. So it's just kind of geared towards whatever that child needs. They come in when they need an evaluation, and that PT or OT does the evaluation and sets their goals for their plan of care, and that's what they work on until those goals are met. So it's very individualized for each child.
Wow. And I see here about the, for example, traumatic brain injury, people who are affected, children affected by that, autism, spectrum disorders, genetic anomalies, developmental delay, and Down syndrome, even among others. And so, wow, this is pretty cool therapy. Is it expensive, or is it covered by insurance? Or?
So it is covered by insurance. There are certain insurances that are accepted, general insurances along with Medicaid and Children's Special Health Care Services. But we also have a large gap to fill from what insurance reimburses the facility to what it actually costs to provide an individual treatment for those children.
Okay, so what would you say to a mom or dad who's out there watching the show now and they have a child with special needs? What would you say to them?
If you are interested in this form of therapy, that there's often a wait list, so you would need to call well in advance. Our ages of children who attend there are 18 months to 13 years of age. So for our case, when Maxwell was diagnosed with his genetic disorders at 13 months, I knew that therapy was going to be a significant part of his life, and that Children's Theraplay was going to be the place where he was going to go and receive PT and OT. So I called and got him on the wait list so that when he turned 18 months, he was ready to just walk on in those doors and start getting treatment.
Okay. Now, how is it for your children, this type of the therapy as opposed to traditional therapy, and I'm not even sure what that would entail, when they go in and have physical therapy, and I would assume certain exercises, lifting weights.
Yeah.
How is it different, and how do they benefit differently?
So the horse is just used as another tool for the physical therapist and the occupational therapist, but there are so many things that the children can do on the horse, that the therapist positions them in different ways that they cannot do in a typical outpatient setting. They can't do it on a ball or a trampoline, because like Becca was saying, the gait pattern of the horse most mimics a human's gait pattern. So, it's working their pelvis, it's working their core, and you just can't receive that in a regular clinic.
Okay, you were going to add to that, Becca?
Yeah, I think the other part of that too that the horse piece provides is that, because we've done traditional therapy in a clinic setting for the 45 or 50 minutes, and after about 20 minutes or so, it's hard work for these kids. And so they're getting tired, they're getting upset, they don't want to participate. I often kind of think about it as like a really hard personal training session or something where you get very tired. And the horse provides this also, I think, novelty for the kids, where now they get to ride up on the horseback, and now they're doing different things. So it's kind of changing the environment a little bit for the children after the clinic setting, or sometimes they do the horse first and then a clinic setting as well. But I think that that's the really unique part as well about Theraplay as opposed to a traditional hospital clinic setting or something.
Okay. Yeah.
It's fun for them. They get to go and ride a horse. It's not therapy for them. They are walking through their doors to play with, Miss Leah, Miss Teresa, and to ride their horse Padre or Gideon. And that's their special one-on-one time, because a lot of times these kids can't participate in other activities. So, they may not be able to play soccer or be on the baseball team, but they go to Children's Theraplay and they have their special time on the horse.
Okay.
And it's not work to them.
Right, yeah, I would think it's kind of like whatever you love to do, what your passion might be when it comes to physical fitness, like dancing. I exercise by dancing, and so I don't really feel like I'm exercising, though it
Right.
does take a lot of work and a lot of energy. So now, where is there a place? Because I'm thinking, when I think about horses, you've got to have tons of space, and they're out there riding. Where is it located?
It's located in Carmel,
Okay.
off a town road.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And they have an indoor arena, so they're able to use the indoor arena for the kids year round. So the kids are able to get therapy on horseback 365 days a year if needed. So.
But it also sounds like you're saying, in a sense, that whether you have a special need or not, this is great exercise, really, for anybody. I hadn't thought about horseback riding being so beneficial. I mean, it takes something, but to this extent, I mean, it's having a major impact.
Yeah, and hippotherapy is different than therapeutic riding.
Okay.
For hippotherapy, there is a trained therapist who is providing that therapy for the child. It is a medical treatment. They have to have a physician's order to come. So it's a physical therapist, an occupational therapist at our clinic, but there are also speech therapists that provide hippotherapy. So they are on that horse to, improve their walking, to improve their coordination or their strength, whereas therapeutic riding is more therapeutic. It's fun. There aren't any particular goals associated with it or anything like that. So hippotherapy is...
It's very specialized.
Very specialized, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now, how can someone get their child signed up for this type of therapy?
So if you can go to childrenstherapy.org, I believe, and there's a Get Started tab on there, and it takes a form to fill out, and like Jenna had said, there is a waiting list, so we encourage parents that think this is going to be helpful to their kids to give them a call or check out the website sooner rather than later.
Okay. Okay. Now, you have a fundraiser coming up?
We do. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us about that, because it's you got to have money to do these things, right? So.
That's right. So there are many fundraisers that we have throughout the year, and you can, like Becca said, go to our website, www.childrenstherapy.org, and there's a tab to get involved, and you can just go right there. You can donate directly to the organization there, and then it gives a list of our events, and we have a show and tell breakfast, which Becca spoke at this year, where people from the community are able to come in and actually see part of a PT and OT session, what that looks like for the children on the horse, and hear about the organization. We have a golf event. We just had our second annual Horsepower 500 that race car drivers are out there and paired with children for an adaptive bike race, but our big one is the Hoedown, which is coming up September 23rd.
Oh, okay.
And it is there at our facility at Children's Therapy in Carmel. 9919 Town Road, Carmel.
Okay, and the website address, we have that on the screen so people can check you out and see what's happening. So well, I appreciate you coming in and sharing your stories with us and encouraging our viewers to this is a solution for special needs kids. Jenna Todd and Becca Wickham, thanks so much for joining us. And we also had Strider on with us, so you didn't see him, but he was here. Thanks for joining us on Inside Indy.
All right, thank you.
And we'll be back with more here on Inside Indy after this. Hi, I'm Kelly Vaughn, and welcome to Inside Indy. You know, there's been much of the news here in Indianapolis about the closing of 3 large high schools with much history in our city. But we have an alternative for you that we want to talk about here on Inside Indy. And joining us to tell us more about the Indiana Connections Career Academy is Stephanie Chi.
Hi there, thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show. Indiana Connections Career Academy. Had not heard of it until today, so tell us what it's all about.
So we're really excited. It's actually a brand new school. Our students just came back on August 10th. I know lots of students around the state are heading back. But it was a unique day for us because we really are the first school of our kind in the country, and I would venture to say the world. We are a fully virtual, career-focused high school. So students will graduate with a full Indiana diploma, whether it be honors or a Core 40, or even the general track diploma, and also with the possibility of having credentials in in-demand fields so that they can be workplace ready when they graduate.
Wow. Now, when you said that key word, virtual, online, tell us how this works. Because again, I'm old school, Stephanie.
Right.
Broad Ripple High School grad, one of the schools that they're threatening to close or have decided to close. Used to, walking into the building with my book bag and sitting in a classroom and, somebody throwing paper at me, that kind of thing.
Right.
But you're telling me that you're introducing me to a whole new world.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So actually I live in Broad Ripple, so the loss of a school like that is very dear to my heart as well, but I think the direction we're moving in is very different. So students in Indiana Connections Career Academy have the opportunity to learn from wherever they are. So as long as they have a laptop and an internet connection, they are able to connect with licensed teachers and engage in content that's meaningful to them in terms of their career choice. So it's wonderful to see the interface and the interaction with the teachers, between teachers and students, because believe it or not, it seems like a paradox, but the relationships that I see that are built between teachers and students virtually, it's almost like barriers are being broken. So there's the capability for chatting and for video. Obviously, we're on the phone a lot with students and parents. So the opportunity for learning and for relationship building is very rich.
Okay, now, so take me to school
Sure.
with you, so I'm in my home. I go online. So am I sitting there for the typical 6 or 7 hours, or is it broken up? And when I am participating, am I doing a one-on-one with the teacher, or are there other students who are there with me as I'm learning from that particular teacher?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, it's a combination. So let's say it's 8 a.m. on a Monday and you're an 11th grader. So you would log in and actually you would see a planner, and everything that you have to do for the day is laid out for you. And it really consists of a few different pieces. So the asynchronous piece where students are working through the curriculum on their own, just like they would, working independently in a classroom. And then large group instruction that we have in our virtual classrooms, where there would be large groups of students working with a teacher. It looks sort of traditional in that sense. The teacher teaches the content, offers help, and then gives them time for guided work. And then also there's time for individual instruction that I think isn't offered in a more traditional bricks and mortar setting. So if there's a classroom full of 30 students and they're all vying for that teacher's attention, that's really tough. Whereas with us, the teacher can, literally call a student or send the student an email and say, hey, could I see you at 2 p.m. so we can work on this problem or work on this essay together? It's really wonderful. So it's really that combination of independent work time and then the group time and the small group time that comprises a student's day.
So is there a particular technology that allows that bantering back and forth?
Yeah, so we use something called Blackboard Collaborate. I know there's a whole lot of different tools out there, and Adobe Connect is another one.
Okay.
But Blackboard is the one that people might be most familiar with if they've done work with things like IB Tech or different organizations like that. So you can picture a whiteboard and then picture a chat pod, picture video, picture students talking, teacher talking back, even picture the students on the video camera. So they can interface and see each other that way. And even do demonstrations for each other. So picture like a chemistry experiment happening in someone's kitchen, or even for our culinary arts, we have a culinary arts class, and our teacher will cook, and demonstrate for the students from her own home.
Wow. It's mind-blowing.
It is.
In a sense. And what I'm thinking about, there's so much in the news about, again, the closing of the high schools and then choice schools, and this turns all of that upside down. No?
It does, because really there are no boundaries or no barriers. So let's say that you're a student living in a very, very rural setting. The offerings at your local high school are very limited, but you want to go into something like manufacturing, or you want to go into the healthcare field, or even you want to take AP courses and they're just not offered at your local school. That really opens up those avenues in a new way.
Wow. Okay. Gosh, I have 1,000 questions
Yeah.
in my head. So, what about those who might say, well, what about the interaction between students? It's great that we have increased perhaps interaction between the student and the teacher, but what about those things that we share with our classmates when we grew up?
Yeah, and it's almost like the soft skills, right? So it's being able to have a meaningful conversation and know when to interject and spend time with your peers. So there are a couple different ways that looks. So in the whole class lessons, students are talking with each other. They're using their microphones and their cameras to build bonds and relationships with each other. And then also we have a really well built out schedule of social activities around the state so that students can get together and families can get together and share their experiences.
Okay. Do they ever come together?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Physically? I mean, is there some point? What about graduation? Do they come together?
Oh my goodness.
Is that online as well? I'm
Yes.
not sure.
So we have a
Again, it's the
larger
whole world.
we have a larger sister school called Inca, and we had just had our graduation up at the Indiana Convention Center. So enormous. I think we had about 2,000 people at this graduation. So just picture a huge hall full of excited families all getting together to celebrate their students' graduation.
Wow.
From
This
all
is
over the
pretty
state,
cool.
every county.
It's pretty cool. So again, I want to go over the things that you specialize, because it seems like high schools specialize. So
Yeah.
if I want my child to attend Indiana Connections Career Academy, what would you be able to offer them so they'll know what choices to make?
Sure. So, we always say that, this isn't a school for students who don't like school or who maybe would have dropped out otherwise. Certainly, it could work for those students, but it's a school that's designed for students who are more pragmatic and career-minded. So we offer a number of different pathways. The ones I'm most excited about, I think, are the health sciences and manufacturing. We also offer hospitality and tourism. And we have a cosmetology piece that falls under that, that's very popular. IT, and that's filling up very quickly as well. And then communications.
Okay, so now what falls under communications, for example? Would that be?
It's pretty broad. So what's really wonderful about it is that students could explore something like broadcasting if they wanted to, or even
Heaven
social
forbid
work.
somebody going to that
Right,
field.
exactly. But what's nice is that the students choose their focus, and then within that focus, we're offering the flexibility for them to sort of choose what they might want to explore within that certain area.
Okay, you mentioned cosmetology, and I would think that's a very hands-on
Yeah.
experience. So how does that work in this particular format?
So the way that it works is students will begin their work in that field through virtual classes. So
Okay.
our curriculum is fully built out, and then with the aid of our teachers, who will again have those hands-on lessons that students can even take part in from their own homes, that's where they begin. And then from there, as they progress each year, we are building out face-to-face partnerships around the state with, different career and technical education programs that actually have facilities, and even schools that offer licensure for things like cosmetology.
Okay. So is this homeschooling, but on a high-tech level?
I think that's one of the misconceptions. So a lot of people will say, oh, this is just another way of homeschooling your student. But really, it's so much more than that, because the piece that's most exciting to me is the fact that, students have contact with quality teachers who really care about them every day. And they're also beholden to all of the requirements that a typical high school student would be in the state of Indiana. So that includes I-STEP, all the graduation requirements. Yeah. So I think that would be a major difference.
Okay. So how do we get signed up? Wow, I'm blown away.
Yeah, so it couldn't be easier. Just look us up online. If you type in Indiana Connections Career Academy, will be probably the first or second hit. And all the information that you could want about our school, including enrollment information, can be found right there.
Okay. You mentioned in some of the paperwork that I have from you about the unique workforce development needs of Indiana. So what are those unique needs?
So we see a great need in the area of manufacturing, particularly,
Okay.
and in IT. So while there are people out there looking for jobs, these people don't necessarily have the skills that they need to be employed. So it takes a specific credential, for example, that people out there looking just don't have. And so the goal would be that students would graduate, let's say in manufacturing, with a safety credential. And that would be a huge resume boost for them and allow them to walk directly onto the factory floor and be employable.
Okay, good point. It mentions grades 9 to 11. Where's 12?
12 comes next year, so we're taking baby steps. Definitely didn't want to jump in, head first, wanted to take it slowly. So we will be adding grade 12 next year. And also just building out the program as we go. We're so new that we wanted to focus on career awareness and exploration this first year, and then build in the different components of the program as we grow and as we succeed.
Okay, so who's the brains behind this concept?
So it is actually a school that is in part managed by Connections Education, and so we actually have some corporate partners. And so at the corporate level, lots of research was done. This has been, oh my goodness, the brainchild and the baby of some people at the executive level for years and years. Finally came to fruition earlier this year, and I was brought on board in April. So yeah, just lots of research and intentional thinking about this model and whether or not it was viable and even needed. And I think, there's a resounding yes that it is. The climate's right. And I think with all of the, just all of the talk coming from the White House even, and even at the state level, this is absolutely perfect timing for a school like this to open.
What about costs? Does it cost anything?
No, it's absolutely free. Since we're a public school, there's no cost associated with any of it.
Wow. So in a sense, you have no overhead, kind of? I mean, I'm sure there's something, but you don't have the building. You don't have the typical things that are shutting schools down, which means we could still have the Indiana Connections Career Academy of Broad Ripple High School.
Hey, it's possible. Or you could have students, sitting around the corner from Broad Ripple High School at Starbucks studying with our school.
Wow, it's pretty incredible. Okay, again, information where people can sign their kids up.
Yeah, so again, go to our website at Indiana Connections Career Academy. Look us up. You'll find everything you need there, and we'd love to have you. We're still enrolling currently.
Okay, sounds good to me. Stephanie Chi, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
On Inside Indy, and we'll be back with more after this.